What's up, guys? This is JTQ9 of Ssx1, and welcome back to the channel. We've got Season 45, War number 4 against X+K9. And we've got ourselves an interesting war. So I've got what I think is a pretty tough war with the fights, and unfortunately, as you will find out later, I ended up dying to one of these fights, being my first death in close to 2, if not 3 seasons. So I'm a little upset now, a little tilted, but you know what? What's better? What's the best way to get rid of a tilted situation? Is to get it out of the system, put it on video, and see what happens. So anyways, I'm happy to say that my newly ranked R2 prior to the season of Spidey Gwen is finally being put to use for the first time. So very happy to finally use her. I've got some power back boosts on at 200. And my goal here is to just basically push to the SP2. When the SP2 is active, it reduces the regeneration of all the champs. Also allows them to not gain some power temporarily. And she crits really well, so she does some very good damage. So just like that, a couple of these first fights, I wasn't sure how I was going to go. And then when that Mysterio dropped in literally 30 seconds, I was like, okay, this could be pretty interesting. So this Man-Thing fight was one I was pretty nervous about, though, because I knew he was basically going to be unblockable the entire fight, not only from his natural regen, but also because of the node. And a couple times I was like, okay, let's see if I can land a parry and before the unblockable was up, and then that didn't happen. So after the first 2 that I failed miserably on, as you saw, I then elected to play him basically stun immune and, unblockable the entire time. So, overall, I was very happy with this fight. I managed to keep the debuffs on, managed to constantly push to my SP2, which was doing some very nice damage. I mean, 21,000 damage per hit, getting the power boost back, so it didn't take me long to build up to my second SP2. Again, with these fights with champs that regen on a good amount, I was never sure how much regen it was going to be, if I was going to be able to damage it quick enough. Because obviously the longer the fights go on, the more risk there is of you obviously dying. So yeah, so these first 2 fights were a little bit tricky. Well, at least this fight here was a little bit tricky. But as you see, coming out with 100% health, no potions needed, was very ideal. So this next fight I ended up calling an audible with DL and the officers. I thought, hey, you know what? I can take it with Penny. Penny was coming in because I was going to take it with the Nick Fury that's coming up a little bit later. And I was in my duels and stuff. I was like, perfect. There should be no issue here. Unfortunately, this was the fight that did not go so well. My favorite champ in the game, as you know from previous videos, was Penny. Idea here was to build to my Penny cycles, and already right there, starting off by missing my SP1 to get him below a bar power, then back over to get myself up to 10 charges. So already we're not in a good spot. So it's okay. I had to throw another one, which again wastes some time, just enables things to go wrong. And right there again, taking a hit from the Psychic Glide. Drop my charges down, so when I do get to an SP2, it'll do less damage. So this one here is protection. Early on, I tried doing the sidestep kind of intercept, thinking that it would drop the protection. It didn't happen, and then after that, I elected to try to play it safe. As I saw that the damage from the SP2 here was doing a pretty significant chunk, I thought, okay, perfect. All I have to do is build to another SP2, and I'll be fine. Yeah, for the next, I don't know, like 30 seconds as I try to build up to my SP2, SP1, SP2 cycle again, I thought, okay, you know what? Here we go. There's the SP1. I'm back up to 10 charges. Now I just need to build up to the SP2. His Psychic Glide was there, so now I don't have to worry about that for a little bit because it was on cooldown. Again, still not worrying about the protection because I figured if I just got the SP2 off, that everything would be fine. So here I am getting ready to get to it, and then I take a hit. The auto block protection protocol jumps in, I lose my charges. Oh, there again, see, if the first one happened when I went down to 8, I still would have been able to do some significant damage. But now I'm at an SP2 because of the hits I was taking to the face. I was down to 4 charges, which means my SP2 would do absolutely 0 damage and have no incinerates on him. So now I have to build back up to the cycle again. Again, time is dwindling down. I take another hit, so I don't know. And then for some reason I jump in early on that. Here I get nice and cornered and thought, okay, you know what? Fine, I'm cornered, backed up. Dig in deep, dig the heals down. Okay, perfect. I still get an SP1 off. I push myself out of that situation. I'm like, okay, I just need to build up to that SP2 again, and then boom, Psychic Glide, I am dead. Not happy. In fact, I was extremely tilted. I was literally just, I don't want to say I yelled out loud, but I took definitely a very, very big angry sigh and woke my wife up next to me, so then she was not happy with me. So I was sitting there staring at the screen for like 3 minutes, just being like, oh my gosh, what just happened? How did I die there? I practiced this fight. I even called for the audible because I thought it would be easier. And then I go and I die with my favorite champ. So now I'm heading into what I thought were going to be the 2 hardest fights of this thing. And I'm not shaking per se, but Werewolf by Knife I'd never taken in War before. I'd only taken him really in EQ. I did a bunch of duels just to make sure everything was okay. But again, not knowing how this was going to go because it was an intercept node using Gwen that I've never used in War either. Unless, no, I might have used her once last season, but not sure. And really just absolutely nervous about what's going to happen here. So already having 1 death under my belt, I'm sure if you've had that happen to you before, you know that when you're now heading into what you thought was going to be the harder fights, how nerve-wracking that can be. The good news is that I managed to land a couple crits, the SP2 to get some power back, did some great damage, and I was able, or am able, to just put on some great damage. So now, when I was dueling, the SP2 was always the one that I thought I had to be worried about, so I was really happy to kind of get out of the way there where I didn't take a shot to the face, because that's where a lot of bad things happen. I was trying to line up after this, after he threw the SP1, get out of the way, force the intercept to get the protection down, and then throw the SP2 to finish the fight. So again, finishing the fight with 100%, I was very, very happy, and now my nerves were calming down a bit. But then knowing now I had to go into this Ssx1 on, I believe it was note 32, with Gwen, saw a couple videos that had what, initially I was nervous at first, because anytime you heavy him or hit a special and knock him down, he goes debuff immune. So therefore there's always a risk that he goes unstoppable basically anytime if I don't have my withers up and stuff. So so I was nervous kind of going into this fight, but after watching it, I kind of developed a pretty good tactic or a pretty good way of countering it. Knowing that even if I throw the heavy, so basically the strategy was when he has protection up, I would parry him, heavy, bait his heavy, and then throw the SP2 to do bigger damage. Because the SP2 also has, again, a reduction on the healing, so I think it's only 80% effective, so it's really, really slows it down. Plus, when the stun is up from the SP2, well, actually, in this case, the stun wasn't up because, that's right, because he was debuff immune. But typically what would happen is that when that stun from the SP2 was up, is that he wouldn't gain any power, so you could put in some pretty big damage. And with the SP2 power back boosts, I was going to try to spam that. But anyways, it did not happen according to plan. And as we're going through this fight, this is where I was concerned that I wasn't going to be able to outdamage his regen. But I was heavily boosted, like I was kind of max boosted just to be absolutely safe. And his health was still going down, and I still had 3.5 minutes left. So my plan here again was to throw the striker, because that usually does some decent damage, build up, and then that last hit kind of knocked him out. So I was very, very happy with the way those 2 fights went in particular, especially after having died to that Morbius, which I'm still very, very annoyed about. So annoyed. Oh my goodness. Anyway, I need to get over it. And anyway, so now we're going the fight that I was actually brought Penny in for was the Nick Fury. I have taken him a million times. This fight is a little weird because you have, on one hand, you have Bubble Shield, which makes him very annoying if he ends up throwing his SP1s. On the other hand, yeah, see, like right there, that was dumb. I shouldn't hit into the block there, but what can you do? And then on the other hand, you have the SP2, the power, what is it called? The power gain to the SP2 that makes it a lot easier, because obviously when he gets to an SP2 is great. But the problem is, because I've got 15 or 16 charges up, he was being power burned kind of consistently. So I was very lucky he didn't throw the SP1 at that point, and then completely forgot I'd get rooted. So fortunately there I didn't lose all my charges. I went down to the 10. But he's unblockable, and then took a little bit of a beating. But it didn't matter, because once Penny gets to her SP2 with over 10 charges on Fury, gets the Incinerates up, and then he just dies from the second life. So overall, a minute into the fight, even though it was played a little sloppy and not kind of up to my standard when it comes to the Nick Fury fights, I was still able to get him down relatively easy.
So after all that, even though I died, our group ended up pulling out the victory, which was huge, because it's not nice going into it knowing that they have 20 less fights still to do, and they have the 1 death advantage. So anyway, we ended up coming through, pulling out with the 7-4 victory, and then so that puts us to 2-2 in the season. And unfortunately, the stat that I'm not happy about is that 1 death, but what can you do? So we move on to the next one. Thanks, and catch you guys on the next one.